my six. What's up, everybody? Listen. You hear that? It's the frogs down in the pond. They came out this week, just a few evenings ago. What a wonderful time of year. Winter is pretty much gone. It will officially be over in 10 days as of this recording. And this happens to be my favorite time of the day, just before it gets dark. Look at this full moon. Look at that. I hope I'm aiming the phone the right way. See that? Isn't it beautiful? And this is the time of day when all the creepy crawlies that live in the forest potentially come to life, and sometimes we can see movement in the background. Try to raise it up to where my head's not blocking your view. There. Get my six. A lot of folks ask what's that means. It means watch behind me, because you may or may not see someone or something creeping around there, especially the closer to spring we do move toward that being their mating season. All right, so listen. I've got a ghost story for you. Some folks mentioned that I went a little on the dark side this morning when I was talking about the caca hachoo, and could I be a little more uplifting? So, well, here I am for that video. So instead of talking about the next pandemic, let's talk about ghosts. All right. FYI, I did receive my shipment of the print copies of The Lunatic. Shout out to Larry Green, if you're watching. I did get your email. Larry had purchased, I think, Olive Capri. Then a couple days later, got this one, wanted me to send them together. They went out today, Larry. Thank you for that email. Been meaning to respond, but I didn't, so I figured I'd do it for you here. So I guess if you want one from the Etsy store with an autograph, you better jump, because these things sell out in about 2 or 3 days. Now, shameless self-promotion aside, let's get to the story. It's not a long one, but it's nice. And we're giving a shout out to Candace McCarty for sending us her story. These are the kind of stories I really enjoy, as do most of y'all. So Candace writes, "Hi Kevin, you have my permission to use my name and location on your channel or in the True Hauntings books. By the way, volume 9 is now out on Amazon in print and Kindle. The link for that is in the description box below as well. I'm too old to care what anyone thinks about me now," Candace writes. You know, I was having that conversation with my son a while back. Most people outgrow caring what others think by the time they're in their mid-30s, but some folks never do. So if you're 40-ish, 50-ish, and you still care what other people think, you're probably going to the rest of your life. So Candace, I'm glad that you outgrew that. And who was it? I saw a very successful young woman recently she said, she was an athlete. She's an adult. She's like early 20s, very successful. She says, they asked her, what do you think? Well, you know what? It doesn't matter who it was, because she's a successful person. And so let's just stick with that. They asked this very successful person, what do you think the biggest mistake that most people make in life is? And without even hesitating, she said, caring about what other people think about them. Because when you care about what other people think about you, that will hold you back from doing that which you want to do. Even if it's something that you think most people might approve of, you'd still be hesitant to do it, and you might not even do it because, oh gosh, what if you fail? What might people think? If you care about what other people think of you, just be prepared for a complete lifetime of not being successful and not being happy. Because every move you make is centered around what other people think about you. This is what I tell my son all the time. No one cares. Everybody else is doing their own thing. And sure, you have those cynical Richards out there. They're going to judge everybody. It's because they don't want anybody judging them and seeing their faults, their shortcomings. So let that go in one ear, out the other. And once you've identified those people, disconnect from them and stay out of their presence and keep them out of yours. Life's full of them. So if you're hearing this message and you currently care what other people think about you, just stop. You're going to be so much happier. I mean, look at me. I'm out here growing my hair down to my butt, talking about the Lord's lettuce on an open social media public platform, riding pretty much a lawnmower engine with tires, like for millions of people to see, because I don't care. And because of that, I'm free. I was a poet and didn't know it. Now, for reals, on to Candace's ghost story. My name is Candace. I grew up in Southwest Michigan. I lived with my mom, dad, a younger brother, and sister. We lived upstairs in a converted apartment in an old plantation house. Our home was one of the original homes built back during the 1700s. My aunt owned the house and had a small private nursing home in the downstairs portion of the house. The people she took care of mostly needed help with medications, dressing, etc. They were all very nice and I loved visiting with them. Candace, I can only imagine how much those older folks enjoyed you visiting with them, you know? I'm seeing bugs, folks. There are bugs flying around me. I hate bugs as much as anybody, but I love seeing them for the first time because it means spring's here. I saw bats 2 nights. Oh, there's a bat. There's a bat. Yes, spring is on the way. Dear Waldo. Name that song. Go. All right, continuing. Hey, no, I've not had any Lord's lettuce yet. That comes later. You could only imagine, huh? All right. That's why it's so important that I write Key West fried chicken. On with the story. Now, on with my haunting. Our apartment entrance, you would come into the kitchen. Next on the left was the restroom. Down the hall on the right was my room on the left. My parents' room then at the end was the living room. In the bedroom, there was a door that led upstairs to the attic. Every day at about 3:30 p.m., the attic door would open up and you would smell the sweetest light scent of perfume drifting from room to room. At exactly 3:45 p.m., you could hear a baby crying up the stairs in the attic. My dad was home on vacation for a week, so this was the first time he got to experience this firsthand. He was so scared he went and bought the biggest nails he could get and nailed the door shut. The next day, we heard ping, ping, ping as each nail flew out of the door and landed in the claw bathtub. Wow, it's a powerful spirit. The door opens and our ghosts come to visit. 15 minutes later, the baby starts crying. Wow. I went to the library and looked the history up. I found out that a girl had been locked in our attic during childbirth. She passed away, so did the baby. The father was the plantation owner. I went back to the house and told her it wasn't her fault and she should look for the light and go rest in peace. She came back only one time after that, and that was to tell my mom that we needed to move because the house was going to catch fire. It did a few years later. Wow. The end. Candace, thank you so much for that story. It just made me remember an incident that happened here in our house probably 5 or 6 years or so ago now. If you're one of our long-term faithful followers who accept me despite my flaws and shortcomings, thank you for that. That's how real, people worthy of being in your life are. Okay? We have tree knocks. We have tree knocks back there in the thick of it. Now, this is where their spring migratory and fall migratory, back there in the dense stuff, they have trails through there. You're saying, who's they? Trust me, you need to go back and watch some of my older videos. You're fixing to find out, brah. Gonna have to start coming up here just as the sun's going down more often to make some of these videos. You wait till you start seeing the movement in the background. So anyway, about 5 years ago, we were heating our house during the winter almost exclusively with firewood. We have baseboard heat. We have the split ductless now, which is very efficient and will pay for itself in only 3 years. It's cut our electric bill down by so much. It will literally pay for itself in 3 years. I've done the math. But back then, we heated with wood. We hated to turn on those baseboard heaters because they're so expensive. So I would get up throughout the night as the fire was dying, and I'd always put on enough wood to where I know the fire would burn for probably about another 3 hours before I needed to get up and put more wood on it. This one particular night, I got up. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was getting ready to put more wood on the fire, and it's almost as if it was telepathy. I didn't hear a voice with my ears, but like something telepathically said, only put on one small log so that this fire will burn out in 1 hour, because you need to be awake 1 hour from now. I have no idea where that thought came from, but it was so powerful, I listened to it. So I took a small log, put it on the fire, went back to bed. I did go back to sleep, and I'm a very sensitive sleeper. I'm a light sleeper. And when the temperature started to drop because that fire was going out, I woke up and I went in there to put another wood on the fire. And I remember thinking to myself, that's crazy. Why did I put such a small log on the fire? I could have slept for 2 more hours before I had to come back in here and do this. And then I heard like a pop, pop, like a popping sound, like a staticky, crackling, electrical type sound coming from our kitchen. And I thought, what is that? So I went into the kitchen, and listen, our house was built in 1903. Back then, there were no electrical appliances. So, in the actual kitchen and dining room on our house were additions put on in the 1980s. And all of the electrical appliances like washer and dryer, range, water heater is all crammed into the kitchen. We don't care. We just don't care, because we know what it's like to live in a bamboo hut in the jungle and get wet when it rains because it leaks through the roof. We feel very blessed to have these electrical appliances crammed into our kitchen, because once upon a time we didn't have those, and once upon a time we didn't have a kitchen, right? So I go into the kitchen and I see smoke, and I look over at the water heater. The insulation where the heating unit is on fire. It's smoking and it's on fire. For some reason, the water heater was on fire, and it started just as I got up to put that log on the fire. So I went in and I woke Dearly up, my wife, and I said, listen, we might need to be ready to run the hell out of this house if I can't figure out how to use this fire extinguisher. Because I bought a fire extinguisher at the Goodwill for $1. So I went in there, pulled the pin. Fortunately, it worked, and it put the fire out. And the house didn't burn down. I went back, I put a bigger log on the fire, went back to sleep, and as I would get up throughout the night to put more wood on the fire, I would check the kitchen. Everything was fine. We bought a new water heater. They came and installed it. We haven't had a problem since. But Candace, that's what your story just reminded me of, when that spirit came and gave you that warning to get out of the house because it was going to burn down. Yeah, I see that back there too. Listen, when you watch that background, look for spots of light on the horizon. There's no wind. There's no breeze right now. So if it looks like something flashed where that spot of light is, it's because something just walked through that area. Yeah. All right. So anyway, folks, what'd you think? Would you like to hear more evening time stories where I come out just before dark? And tonight we got some tree knocks. If you don't know what that is, listen, Google this. Bigfoot Sasquatch tree knock. You'll be like, and I thought that dude was just crazy. I thought he just partook of too much of the Lord's lettuce. Speaking of which, it's about that time. Worked out today, worked today, generated revenues to provide for my family, spent an hour training with my son for his physical stuff, football, getting ready to go into spring flag football. I think I need a bowl of lettuce. See you for more next time.